Hello and welcome everybody to the Ivy League, a Chicago Cubs podcast. My name is Marco Santana. As you can see, Cubs fans hanging out, just talking Cubs. The funny thing, Ethan Davis, Rob Osterman, and it's funny because I have to ask him how to pronounce it because we've never met until this moment. We met on the Cubs Blue Bleeders Facebook page, and now we're just a few guys who want to talk Cubs. Gentlemen, good to see you. Good to meet you. I'm excited. What are you guys thinking?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
we've been in the works for a few months.
Ready for pitchers and catchers to report.
Yeah, they're coming soon, man. We got this we were talking about in August. I think we almost wanted to remember that we wanted to start it before the season was even over, and it just didn't work for me. So, but here we are. But anyway, so the thing about this whole thing, the whole thing we're doing here, it really is for me. I've always loved the Cubs, longtime fan. I think I'm the senior guy on the crew here, but I've been a fan since the early '80s. And just Rob, tell me a little bit about your fandom. What kind of when did you start watching them? And obviously we all love 2016, but
well, yeah, that's the peak of the fandom right there, right?
For sure.
But I grew up watching them in the early '90s. My grandmother was a huge Cubs fan. She knew more than anybody else I knew, and that was something really special. We shared, got to watch, the home run race and the
right.
strike
probably.
back then. Yeah, right. 98, 99. It was real fun to watch back then.
I love it because I think sports in general, I think we're not to get all we're 2 minutes in, I'm getting all philosophical and shit. But there is that whole the family thing, right? I got it from my dad. Ethan, where'd your fandom come from?
Definitely my dad and my uncle Kevin. They're both huge Cubs fans, and it was either rooting for the Bears or the Cubs. And
right.
You think being a Cubs fan is rough? I think
I'm not sure you made the right choice or not. I'm not sure, but that's awesome. No, I'm not. So when did you start? 90s as well, right? Ish.
I'm 23, so no.
Okay.
So early 2000s.
Yeah, I think my first baseball memory was probably 2008. That's the first season I kind of remember. Derek Lee was my favorite player.
Yeah.
So those are the days that I started rooting. And then we had those rough seasons for a while there. And my dad just always said, we're the lovable losers. We've never won a championship in my lifetime. It'll probably never happen. And then, the ups and downs of Game 7. And here we are able to say
ups and downs of that whole week, man. That whole week was just heart attack every night. We were down 3-1. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's really going to happen again. And then,
my dad would always talk about the curse. And I thought he was full of crap. And when Rajay Davis hit that home run, I was at a local restaurant that was showing the game because I wanted to be like an adult going to the bar and watching it, even though I was
right. Because you just said you're 23, so you weren't even legal by then.
So I called my dad and I said, "Dad, you were so right about that curse. I cannot believe what just happened." And he goes, "Yep, tried telling you," and hung up the phone.
I had gone out to a bar here locally. I'm from Orlando, Florida. There's a Chicago Cubs bar, and so I went out to that, and it was exciting until that happened, and I was miserable. And my quote unquote friends who were sitting with me, they took a picture of me, and I was so sad. And it was just this world thing. I took my ball and went home. I actually drove home. I said, "Screw this shit. They lose. I'm not going to be in front of everybody." But then they end up winning. I watched it at home. But Rob, where were you when you saw that?
2016.
Yeah.
I was at the house. My wife was deployed at the time, I believe.
Okay.
So I was at the house with the kids, trying to keep my screams silent.
No, I'm like I said, I'm the old.
Unfortunately, not as cool of a story as your guys's. But
oh no, man! I don't think there's any uncool story when it comes to that Cubs World Series, man. Like I said, I was 84, baby, 84 when Rick Sutcliffe and all that. I was a kid watching that, and 84, 89, and what was it, 98 or something like that, 95 maybe. I know there was a few there, but it was always like one and done. Like 1 year playoffs, next year they went to shit. So it's been pretty cool to see a sustainable type of thing. So,
I hope you know
but
how lucky you are to be able to watch the '84 season.
dude, listen, it was. I was only 7, so like I didn't, but I was already a diehard baseball. Like, my fandom comes from my dad as well, and he always loved taking us to the games, and we never really talked about World Series because I think he didn't want to disappoint me. But as we got older, though,
don't get your hopes up, kid.
Didn't want to get right, exactly, and but then you get older and you get your hopes up, and it's like, okay, well, this kind of sucks. But we are. It is right now as we speak. It is just hours before Cubs convention of 2025. First of all, where does the time go? I feel like just yesterday I was watching week 15 of the NFL season or whatever, right? But for me, it goes from football season to playoff football / spring training, and that's where we're getting. So there's some really, to me anyway, interesting things going on tomorrow and throughout this weekend. I would love to hear what you guys think about Sammy Sosa, because he filed an apology or somewhat of an apology not too long ago, and it seemed like the club's opening it or welcoming him with open arms. What do you guys? What's your thoughts on just kind of how that whole transpired? Where we're going?
Rob, I'll let you go first since you were alive back then, and then I'll give a different perspective on it.
Right.
That only
Fair enough.
The tail end of his career.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I was excited to see that he reached out to the organization because that was one of the guys that made me want to play baseball as a kid. He was exciting. He was a treat to watch, and I always thought he was a pretty stand-up guy. And to be honest, I don't even remember all what happened between him and the team. But I'm excited, and I've got some good memories of Cubs Con with Ron Santo. I got a Ron Santo autograph at a Cubs Con way back in the day, and I don't remember what year now. I'd have to look it up. But so I'm excited to see some grown men my age maybe be able to go meet Sammy now that he's back in good graces.
And that's the thing. Like I went through it, and frankly, like at that time, it was right after. And I'm not telling any stories no one else knows, obviously, but it was right after like a huge baseball strike. And next thing you know, it was McGuire and Sammy just down the stretch, just kind of home run after home run. Like they were like neck and neck. Who's gonna win? Only later, several years, did all that whole steroid chatter come out. I mean, they did a lot for baseball. At the same time, hey, look, it made me appreciate some of the guys from that era that I feel did not do it the wrong way. But the problem is, though, no matter who I mention, someone's gonna be like, "Nope, you were wrong." Because I mean, it was just that era, man. Ethan, what your thoughts on from afar?
I'm going to get a little fired up because I look at this from a completely just objective angle. It was the steroid era for a reason. It was not just Sammy and McGuire. You have Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds, and by the way,
Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens, who was the biggest meatball on the planet. I do not like Roger Clemens, but Barry Bonds, on an unrelated note, he was a Hall of Famer before the steroids, but I digress. The only thing
we can agree on that.
I will give Sammy Sosa really crap for was the corked bat and walking out in 2004. That was just totally unacceptable. But if you're talking about the steroids, everybody was doing them. If the guy throwing you the ball was doing them, you still have to time it up, see what pitch is coming, and react to it. So to me, I don't think it was quote unquote cheating. And what's especially ironic is a lot of the people that harp about the cheating with the steroids just think the Astros was just no big deal in 2017. It's just So to me, I just don't think steroids is the worst thing in the world. I definitely think the steroid era saved baseball.
It was down, man.
Yeah,
it was way down at the time. And to your point,
especially after that strike.
100%. And to your point, I think there are purists who, like, at that time, but I feel like with with time and distance, like me, I was in that era. I was in my 20s when that was going on, and I wasn't sure what to think when it all came up. You could tell that something was happening. They were blaming on a juiced ball first for a while, but then after a while, you kind of looking back at it with some distance. It was a fun era. I mean, you played, and you played to kind of see who wins, right? And that's what will happen. And at the time, I was one of the purists who was like, you know what? If you asked me in 2004, 2005, I'd be like, good riddance, get rid of all of them, right? I really was like that. But with time though, it's gotten like I'm more like where you guys are, where it was an era. It was an era of baseball.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but were metabolic steroids even illegal back then? I don't think they were for a certain
Like
period.
I don't think they were. It wasn't like in the code, right? It was almost just understood.
And that's what's weird to get upset with people over an unwritten rule.
Kind of a sportsmanship rule that was.
I don't mind.
Well, let's talk about
kind of like bunting to break up a no hitter. Is it against the rules? No. Frowned upon.
Personally, that's bullshit. But Kyle, we're not talking about Sammy. Obviously, we got a lot of guys coming to CubsCon tomorrow. Listen, I usually love, not usually, I'm gonna love kind of watching from afar. Now, Ethan, you said you've been to. I've never been to a CubsCon. That's one thing that I've never done that I want to do.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, talk about it. What it's like.
Well, last year, me and my fiance went with a couple friends that are also big diehard Cubs fans.
Nice.
And it's like all you can drink. So like there was, I kid you not, there was this family down in the hotel lobby, and they had their own bar cart with like bottles of booze and beer. So that was something weird to us, because we're like, dang, we would have brought cases of beer with us if we known this was gonna be. So I'm like, whatever, I need to go get a beer. So I go up to get a beer, and Bobby Dernier's right next to me.
Oh, nice.
I was like, are you Bobby Dernier? And he's like, yeah. And he signed my hat, and we talked and had a beer with Bobby Dernier. And an hour later, I'm in line to meet Fergie Jenkins, and
that's awesome.
I felt like a kid again, man. And you bet your ass I waited 4 hours to meet Dansby Swanson, only for him.
Right.
But no, you're surrounded by Cubs fans.
So it's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Right.
No, you're surrounded by Cubs fans for a whole weekend with people that are as passionate about baseball and the Cubs as you, and it's just you get a unique look at the players, and you're kind of reminded that they're not just immortal stars of the field. They're people just like you, and it was super cool to have that experience.
I want to go, man. I want to go at some point, because I think, to me, like it's the perfect. It's like a pep rally, right? It's like a pep rally.
Yeah.
Before the season, before they move on to Arizona, they come in and say hi.
That's a good way to put it.
That's
a good way to put it.
And Shota Imanaga last year, when he got signed, he did his speech. We were watching that live, and the whole entire room just erupted when he said, "Hey, Chicago, what do you say?"
Yeah, I was watching it live remotely.
Right. But this guy, man, again, like that dude is he's such a character, and this team needed a character. This team needed a character like that kind of fun-loving guy. Like, I mean, I think we were. I don't know how to put it, but I feel like after the big guys left in like the 17, 18, 19 season, needed something to rile up the fan base. And he just has fun. I love that.
Yeah, and I really like. It's the same with all Japanese players. They come from a culture of respect,
right?
And they go out there, and that every game matters to them, and they're trying their hardest. And it'll be a June game, and being up in the division, and Imanaga will play like it's a game 7 of an NLCS. He's just that type of player.
Yeah, you never saw him waver in his dedication to his craft.
You'd see him get disappointed.
Right. But I like, it's so, I don't know what the right word for this is, but it's watching the Cubs fandom turn on someone so quick. Because, I mean, I look at Shota, and we all love him. We all love what he did, and he was great. But it seemed like down the stretch, you hear more and more complaining. This same thing goes with Cody Bellinger. We'll talk about in a little bit, of course. But I feel like there's just this very fickle, fandom going on right now that, maybe it's because we've now won. We've tasted that victory, and we want it again, which
Yeah.
obviously we do. But for me, I'm like, man, I went 30 years of my life without watching that. So actually 39. But like, you know, when you look at Shota, like it just I think he's the guy that like can keep everyone chilled out. Just kind of everyone agrees that okay, he plays it the right way, and I think we need more of those guys on the team because, again, we were getting a little too buttoned up and corporate when Rossi was here. I think.
And I think Steele is like that as well. You know,
Yeah,
there's something about like Justin Steele and Shota have that effect where it's like they're starting today. We have a good chance to win.
yeah.
And whether it was the lack of hitting and scoring position or the bullpen finding a unique way to blow a save, you know, you still knew that you had a chance going into it.
Well, yeah, and I think we'll get into that for sure. We had back-to-back same year. It's like, what the hell? Do we go forward or backward or what? You know, one thing I think, you know, moving over toward like the 2025 season, I think I'm not. Who was it Yamamoto last year when he did the finalists and the Cubs were one of them, or somebody like because I feel like the Cubs lately have become this, and I'm talking about Sasaki, of course, have become like they're always on a list until the very end. Some of the Cubs are using them for leverage, or pardon me, the agents.
Players using the Cubs as leverage against other teams.
Yeah, last year it was Shohei actually. The Cubs
Right.
dollar for dollar matched the offer to Shohei, which is why it's another reason why a lot of us, myself included, are confused on why they haven't really been spending money, especially after dumping Bellinger's contract.
Yeah.
If they were willing to shell out $700 million or close to it for Shohei, I think their offer was like 620. If I could be wrong, but
yeah, but it was more than you expected.
Close to it. I don't remember the exact figure, but
you talk about that. I mean, this year we just got news. I think it was today, right? Arbitration was that today?
We just settled with Tucker today for 16.5.
And it's like you're only $1 million difference. Like, so to what you were saying, Ethan, about just what are we doing? I have a feeling, I have a theory that this team, and we're going to talk about Kyle Tucker here for a little bit because I think he is an illustration. I think, and he's going to be like to me a proving point whether the Cubs management is doing what I'm about to say or are actually going for it. I feel they have an idea of who they want on their next playoff team. And when it comes to minor leaguers, I think they're really in on a lot of the minor leaguers. So they bring on Cody Bellinger for 1 year, right? Then bring him on for another year, right, with an option, which they knew they were going to trade him once Tucker was signed. There was no way they were keeping Tucker and Bellinger as much as we all wanted to hope that was happening. And for a couple of years, it just seems like they like Candelario, right? That one, they're like, oh, we're gonna make a push for it. Here's a mid-level, not terrible, not Candelario, the third baseman. But it just feels like they have an idea of what they want to do, and they're sticking with it, which may or not be a good thing, depending on if they execute. I love PCA. I love these kids. I love Amaya. I think is going to be a pretty good catcher, and I think that's good that they're doing that. But like when signing Kyle Tucker, some people were like, "Oh, look, the Cubs are going after," and I'm like, "No, they're not."
So how long? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
How long do you give Amaya before he's a bust?
Well, see, here's the thing. People forget how good of a second half he had. And during the All-Star break, he did a lot of extra work with the Cubs hitting coach, and they found that his timing was a little bit off because of his leg kick. And then he eliminated it, and he added some decent power still.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if Amaya hits 240 with 10-plus home runs and, I don't know, 50 RBI, I would be thrilled with that if he can start throwing people out. Because his defense is what concerns me more than his offense at this point.
Yeah. And you have to think, and one thing I think, again, I've had a discussion on the Facebook page before. What we forget is that when they go away in September, and we start watching football, they're still getting better. They're still out there training. Like I expect Amaya to come back this year with a much better, arm, of course, but like the regular. Mechanics, right, are going to be a lot better. I think your offensive stats are a floor, right? I do think he
Right.
could be productive as a catcher. 240, 10, 50. 50, of course, depends if he gets people on base. So, but I think he'll have double-digit home runs. I think he'll
And
be okay.
to that point, Amaya ended the season last year with a 232, 847.
Yeah, and how many games?
And how many games? 117 games.
I didn't realize he played that many, but okay.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was our primary catcher.
Yeah.
So, and that was his first year doing it as the primary. That was just 2 years removed from almost a full season off.
Yeah.
I think he's got at least this year, if not 2026, to where I would just give up,
Right. I think he'd be tough to give up on. I do think we have him early. I'm pretty sure he's tied up for a while. And I think, to me,
he's not arbitration eligible until 2027.
Right, and I think we're actually in a good spot this year. And I think again, a lot of things have to go right. To say the old cliche, right? A lot of these have to go right. But it becomes a matter of can each of the guys that including someone like PCA, can they take that next step?
And I think PCA, there's just no way he doesn't. I mean, I was so impressed by his progression last year, and it was consistent progression. I felt like every month or two he was improving on something,
Mm-hmm.
and to the effect of Imanaga. I think PCA has that Imanaga effect where the fans just love him. I'm wearing my PCA jersey right now.
Right on.
I think if he's a 250 hitter with 15 to 20 home runs, 60 RBI, and the way he steals bases, I think he's 45 bags or more next year. I really do. If he plays a full season.
Yeah, I was about to say 50. I mean, I do think he's that guy.
I mean, even a conservative 30 to 40 is good.
Right.
I mean,
right.
There's nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
And that's something with Amaya too that I feel like people forget. The bags are bigger now, and stealing.
Yeah.
It goes more towards the runner now. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, I wish Amaya would throw out some more people, but it's not as big of a worry because it's going to take some time to adjust. It's only been a full season or two of the new
full season. All of last year, when I would see all these like stolen base records being broken, I'm like, that doesn't matter. It does not mean anything. Like they would say, oh, this is the first person to steal 50 bases. I'm like, can you please add in one sentence? One sentence.
Since we made the bases bigger.
Yes, the bases are bigger. So don't get me wrong, I couldn't get a stolen base. I guarantee that. But the numbers. I mean
maybe on a wild pitch.
I mean, it depends to go on a play or not. Because I don't know. But
I have to hit my inhaler before I tried to steal second anymore. But
right. But no, that's the thing. I mean, Amaya, I think he's someone that I can't wait to watch this season and come on with you guys to talk to him about him like every week. I feel like that's the guy.
I agree.
That we're gonna be looking at and be like, okay,
yep,
Amaya sucked this week. Okay, we went 3-4.
And I'm excited for Matt Shaw too, because honestly, I haven't seen the Cubs front office have this much faith already in somebody since PCA, to be honest. And they were
Michael Busch, they threw him in right when they got him.
that was another. But then again, Michael Busch, same thing as PCA. He was the top prospect, talked about very highly. Matt Shaw is too, and his only concern was his defense at third. But his Team USA coach said he had the best glove on their team. So now it's just like, oh man, if Matt Shaw really is what they say he is, a power hitter with elite defense, I mean, think of how that would change the trajectory of the offense.
Let me just remind you though, it's only January 16th. Let's not call World Series quite yet. All right.
I'd be happy with the wild card.
Yeah, I'd be happy with. I'd be happy with.
Let me tell you, we probably wouldn't be the first podcast either to say World Series. There's so many out there that it's all or nothing for the Cubs, basically.
But I think it's all or nothing this year. I think it's maximum effort or nothing, though.
Right. I think. I think I do. I think we'll do predictions later in the spring, but I do think like. Last year was a wasted year, right? Because you couldn't tell if they got better or worse. I mean, for the numbers, obviously, and you can all do the division test, of course, but when it comes down to it, wins and losses all that matters. And I don't remember the last time they had the same record 2 years in a row. You know?
Well, and you know what? I hate to be that guy, but this
Yeah.
is why I always say April matters just as much as
100%.
September, because look at those blown saves in April and May. If we
Yep.
won half of those, we're a playoff team. So I do think the Cubs have addressed a lot of their major bullpen needs, and we've got some
Yeah.
guys coming off of injury. So I don't think we need a closer, and there's 2 or 3 really good ones out there. And I think
Right.
if the Cubs just do that, if that's all they do the rest of the offseason as a closer,
Yeah.
I would be thrilled. And I think we're with a good closer, 87 to 88 wins is not unrealistic.
I agree. And we have our discussion
Games,
about
right?
wins later, but yeah, I think we are. I think that is the thing. I mean, I like, and the thing is, we have a couple homegrowns. I mean, you know, the Porter Hodge really Cubs prospect, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
or you know, you got these guys coming down, and of course we signed a couple guys this winter, and yeah,
I'll be the first to admit I was the meatball last winter, singing the praises of Alzolay. No, man, look at all these. He only blew 2 saves. This is the guy, man. This is the guy. He's got this in the bag. We don't need to go out and trade for Emmanuel Clase, even though I would have loved to have had
right. Look, I was right there with you with that, Bert. I was right there with you.
I thought he was gonna carry that forward, and man, was I wrong.
Well, we all were on that, and
yeah.
you know, I said in 2023, I actually called in to 670 the score when they did their open line, and they all kind of, you could tell the demeanor. They thought I was an idiot, but I said they're not going to keep Bellinger. Trade Bellinger for a high-end closer, and everybody thought I was so stupid. But now it's like, what if we did that? We don't have Bellinger now, and what do we still need? A closer.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, but I do think Do you think the closer is there right now?
I think Porter Hodge has the ability, but after what we went through with Alzolay, I'm not going to have the blind faith of a rookie to go do something.
I like his stuff, though. I like his stuff more than Adverts.
I do too, and I think he's got that
overall.
Yeah. His fastball and changeup are pretty good, and I was at the no hitter at Wrigley last year, and you can't ask a rookie pitcher to go into a bigger moment, than preserving a no hitter, and he killed it. So.
Edward had his moments, but I feel like Porter is more consistent, like pop. His more consistent pop with the fastball. You know,
I think Porter's going to be more consistent. Yeah, Edward, I think all his cylinders were ticking at the right time, and he came in and performed, and it looks like he maybe hurt himself doing it.
Right,
which I think was semi-predictable. I don't think Ben Brown's a starter. I think Ben Brown's a power late inning arm long term. He might still slot in as a 6th, spot start guy this year. I don't know. We'll see what our rotation looks like in a couple of weeks. But
it's pretty crazy because for like a barely above 500 team, it seems like we have a deep pitching staff. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I know Ethan, you were very excited about the bullpen. I mean, let's talk about that a little bit.
I love Eli Morgan. I was thrilled beyond belief when they got him. I think he's a fantastic guy. Got some decent swing and miss. He's been reliable so far, and he's young. He's going to be under team control for a while if you do make that decision to have him for longer. And everybody rips on Caleb Thibar because he had an off year last year, but I think our bullpen is in way better shape, and we're going to have a healthy Ben Brown, Porter Hodge.
I will tell you that it's a last chance, I think, for Keegan.
Yeah, and I don't know.
For me, a couple of years ago, he was the guy. I'm like, okay, he's gonna be good. But the last couple of years, you just had the rocky outings, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think Keegan this year is a slide piece. He's not going to be a super consistent part. I think he could play his role and
I think his role, and when somebody
gnarly innings, but yeah,
You don't think he breaks camp?
I don't.
You know, okay.
Who's that?
Whether he makes the team or not out of spring training.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because I like a couple years ago I was all in on him, so it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, no, because Ethan, if I was being honest with myself, I'd be like, yeah, you're right, but I don't want to say that. But the thing about it is like as good of a bullpen as you have or don't have, Craig Counsell was dealt a shitty deck last year because no matter who we turned to, it was like this is all we have, right? There was that stretch where I'm like, you need your
That's what you get when you sign Hector Neris.
What's that?
I didn't like the Neris signing.
Since
the get-go, I was every time he came in, I was just through the. All right, I'm just gonna start drinking now. You know, might as well because he's gonna blow it.
Like, because if you're in trouble, seven outings in a row, even if you get 7 saves, you still ready to blow one. The odds are against. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he was real good at getting out of his own trouble, but he made far too much of it. Yeah.
What's that even?
He earned the name Heart Attack Hector. That is
he did indeed, man.
All right, silly question about the 2025 bullpen. Does Cade Horton make a jump and make a few bullpen appearances just to get a taste?
I could see that. If he's
I think it depends where we are.
Did it with Steele?
I think it depends where we are. Because by the time we'd be looking at that, the Cubs would either be on a good roll where Counsell probably wouldn't want to disrupt things, or you know what I mean. Like if that's the case, you know, I don't know if you roll someone like that unless he's like just murdering minor league ball, right? And then you got to bring him up and add him into the mix. Find a way to
use that tool.
Yeah.
So, either of you guys familiar with Jack Neely?
Yeah, a little bit. He was a touted Yankees prospect for a while because he has swing and miss, and then he's
I'm not
really
familiar with him. I've heard the name this offseason, but
24-year-old reliever drafted 2021 by the Yankees. He rates out. He's got a 60 rated. We're all familiar with the prospect, 30 to 80 or whatever scale, right? He's got a 60 rated fastball and a 70 rated slider. He's got big miss potential. He saw a couple games with us last year. 6 innings.
Right.
Not so dandy last season, but that was end of the season in that weird spot we were in there.
It was a bizarre.
Just everybody floundering. Right. So I'm not going to hold that against him. Not as a 24-year-old with the kind of stuff he has. He's got a 2.77 career minor league ERA.
And that's another piece in the puzzle we're talking about, right? I mean,
I'm excited to see him. I hope we see a good bit of him in spring training.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should. Like Craig Counsell is gonna have a lot of tryouts in that spring training. Like that bullpen. I know there's a few that are like locked in, but there's a lot of new names that have to get kind of show them what they still have. I mean, but that's gonna be a big part of the. It was a big part of the 2024 Cubs in a bad way early in the season. So I think it's gonna be a big part of this year too. Like how do we shift from who we were to becoming this second year Counsell?
Yeah.
And you guys
Poteet?
Yeah.
Ethan, you know about him, right?
So he's again he's slightly more known for his swing and miss, but it's not that's his only forte. He gets some ground balls too. I think there's a lot of upside with him. And you got to keep in mind the past few years, for whatever reason, some of these bullpen projects we've gotten have worked out. I mean, just look at Julian Merriweather and some
Right.
of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I really am, and I think this bullpen is, provided we get that ninth inning guy, our bullpen will be top 5 in baseball. Has the potential to be, I should say. But we
I like
need to
that
get big
qualifier.
I was just say top 10, but okay, we go top
and,
5.
I like that qualifier.
But Caleb Thebar, another name, he was phenomenal in 22 and 23.
Yep.
And
the problem with this is like you just don't know with bullpen, and
Right.
I think as a Cubs fan, for me anyway, there's my own personal philosophy and approach. When they hire a bullpen arm, I don't care. I like because
Not until I see him.
I've been exactly. I need to see it. Like I can look up the numbers and I can see his highlights and I can see what he's done and that's. But there are very rarely do you have a bullpen full of like misfit toys that all come together and have their big year at the same time. I think that's what the Cubs are hoping for. That said, they have a better. They're not. Their arms now are better than they were last year, going into the season. As far as the options go. So I'm not going to like necessarily like dismiss them, but I do want. It is like you said, Rob. Like I need to see him perform.
There's a whole lot of prove it to
Yes.
be done in that bullpen, isn't
I
there?
think so.
Well, and there's not just a whole lot of prove it. There's a whole lot of maintain what you've already done.
Right.
I feel like in some aspects that is just as hard. I mean, you want to talk about Cody Bellinger. I mean, look at his drop off from his Dodgers time to what ended up getting him to become a Cub. I mean, players just have down years. And another recent example of that is Yan Gomes. People forget how he was a corner piece, really, of our offense in 2023. And then 2024, he looked like a totally different player.
Yeah.
So it just, to me,
that 1 year really.
Yeah, expecting the young guys to do good in some ways is almost as difficult as asking certain people to maintain what they did last year.
For me, like the one, and I'm obviously I'm going to pull this name out, and everyone's like, "Well, I didn't know shit." But PCA is the perfect example of progression from year to year, right? Now, I don't mean the 0 for whatever of the other. I'm talking about like from year to year, even the minor leagues, right, and moving up, and continue to improve and continue to like find something to work on in the off season and make that better. I think that is what kind of drives him. I've seen him in a couple. I saw him on the podcast the other day with Ian Hab's podcast, and
I didn't watch that one yet.
Yeah, it might have been last month.
I
just happened to catch it the other day, but that's what he was talking about, right? Just find one thing to improve, and that kid has so many natural tools that if he can just whatever weaknesses, that's where you fix one of those and boom, you're an all-star. And I think that's.
Oh, I mean, in PCA's what is he 22 yet? I don't remember.
He's younger than me. He's younger than me.
But I mean, he's a kid. He should literally just be graduating college on the Major League Baseball track. You know, that kid is going to be good.
He's
for a number of years to come.
I think he
there's
gets a real next year.
Oh my God, perennial gold. I think it's perennial Gold Glover. He'll be there forever. I mean, as long as he's still productive and in the lineup every day.
I think if he played a few more games this year, maybe, or didn't have the one or two major mishaps with running into people and being a little maybe selfish. I hesitate to call it selfish.
Yeah, I don't know about selfish. I think it was just like
aggressive.
But like it was hit. The funny thing is like we know exactly what play you're talking about.
Yep. And I think that's what cost him the Gold Glove. Honestly,
that could have been a part
that play right there, if I had to guess,
is what cost him the game. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but on the topic of PCA being a Gold Glover, it's just some other food for thought.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker, he's won a Gold Glove, I believe, right? And Ian Happ has won several. PCA is going to be a perennial. Swanson and Horner have won Gold Gloves, and
Yep.
Right.
Jed Hoyer has even publicly said, "I think Michael Bush's Gold Glove caliber defense." We definitely saw that last year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we have one of the best defenses in the National League, and
Absolutely.
if our bullpen maintains just a higher ceiling than last year, and you got to keep in mind too that Steele and Shota are aces on almost any pitching staff in
Right.
baseball. So in my
Yep.
opinion, we got two aces, and Jamison Tyon finally found his
Yeah.
groove last year.
Yeah.
If he can
He had
maintain
his
that,
best season for the last
How,
6 years or so, I want to say.
how JMO got his groove back, man. That's a season for me.
and Matthew Boyd is somebody that it seems like Cubs fans were disappointed about. If you go on to any Cleveland Guardians fan page, Instagram, what they were devastated that he was leaving. He
Hmm.
was
Yep.
fantastic in the postseason last
He
year,
was.
and I
Yeah.
think he's a great addition. And Colin Ria, he doesn't excite me yet, but I
Yeah.
trust that Craig Counsell sees something in him that he saw in Milwaukee. And Javier Assad, again, people don't give him any credit. Javier Assad was a
I give
phenomenal
him credit.
workhorse.
It's one of
I
my
give
biggest
all the credit.
pet peeves, man. I love that guy.
Man,
he
same
only-
here, man.
Because he would only go 5 innings sometimes, and it's just like, okay, he was a
Okay, you
bullpen
got
guy,
5 quality innings.
right?
It
kept
took him
winning
95 pitches to get there, but they were
games.
quality
Yes,
innings.
right.
We can
But
work
that's-
on that, though. We
Right,
can work
right.
on that, right?
But he's a bullpen guy developing into a starting pitcher. You're going to have
Right.
that. So I'm really confident about our pitching going into.
I like
and our
Javi.
defense.
I mean, I like Javi a lot. I think I remember last year there was like flipping him out. I'm like, why are you flipping him out? He is not, or no. We're all part of the same Facebook group that will we'll be on there all year as well, chatting up over there. But
I'm sure there's some members there that'll absolutely tear us apart here.
oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
I'm sure
Oh,
and
I
that's
already
all
know
right.
who
That's
it
okay.
is. I already know
Yeah.
who it's going to be too. So
Same. But the thing about it is though, like one of the things that was always bizarre to me was this. There seemed to be a general dislike of Javier Assad, despite the fact that he will still go out and get you that W or get you the quality start.
This
And
is
there's
not a
also-
stat I prepared, but
Right, or 5 strong innings.
there's something else to be said too about, and it goes the same for Ben Brown. Ben Brown and Javier Assad have both had great success in the bullpen and starting, and I
Mhm.
think that versatility, because not everybody can do both,
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I think that's something that people don't talk about enough is having guys that can do both efficiently is just huge. And I think if Boyd and Rhea are doing good and those are our solid 4 and 5 guys, and we have Assad and Ben Brown in the bullpen on top of
Mhm.
everybody else, I mean it's just lights out.
yeah. But the thing
Yeah.
is, I want to go back. I think
Rhea and
one.
Assad could easily interchange that 5th slot at any time.
Like I do
Yeah.
have good faith in the Cubs this year for some reason again. For the 47th time in 47 years. But the thing about it is though, last year we went up and down their defense, but they would always find the wrong moments to make the mistakes. Like I
Yes.
want to see all of Danby's errors. There were many, or Nico's errors, or the drop ball at PCA that I don't think that counted as an error, but it was a mental goof. And I won't guarantee it, but I can probably take a look at those, and more than half probably cost games. Where the overall stat looks great, but they would come at the wrong time, like in the middle of a rally or right after someone else. Like remember Justin Steele came in yelling at the damn dugout because they just kept piling mistake upon mistake upon mistake, and then go a couple weeks where Danby was. Well, I mean, Danby went for a long time without error, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it was always the worst time for very solid defenders to give up their some sort of play.
And that was the story of the 2024 Cubs was we were just the kings of so close yet just so
Yeah.
far.
So
And-
far away.
And part of the annoyance I have with Craig Counsell is at least last year, and granted he didn't get to pick his coaches. This
Yeah.
year will be different. I have a lot more faith in Craig Counsell this year, but last year he's not a very emotional guy. He doesn't get fired up, and our roster and our team just from top to bottom was just they are very emotional, and they were an emotional team, and an error like that would linger for a few days. It felt like, and
Right.
losing those games, some of those saves, they started to pile up, and you could tell the team was feeling it.
Yeah.
Um,
You can't help but feel it.
No.
yeah, and so I think that limiting those next year will be huge because it's clear that a lot of these guys let mistakes get to them a little bit too much, which is only human. I'm not
Yeah.
bashing anybody for it, but it was pretty obvious last year. A big bad defensive play, and it would linger for a couple of days. It was very rare to me that they'd
Absolutely.
win the
yeah.
next day after something
No.
like that.
No. Let's like I think one thing that I want to talk about is kind of saying goodbye to a couple guys. Clearly Cody's the big guy, and I think I gotta say this, and Miles is gone now officially, and frankly, I'm glad. Not that he had his moments, but it was always like give counsel someone else to be able to choose off the bench. I don't know why. Miles was just one of those guys that just not do it for me. What were your guys' thoughts on? Obviously, you look at when he was given consistent playing time, he was fine, but he was never going to find consistent time with this group.
No.
Go ahead, Rob.
No. You're up.
I was just going to
go ahead, buddy.
To me, that Miles Mastroboni should have been, and he kind of was for the most part, but he was nothing more than a late defensive substitution and a solid base runner. And running the bases and playing defense, I had no problem with him. But watching him play offense made me want to throw up. And I damn near popped a bottle of champagne when they DFA'd him, if I'm being honest.
And it's funny because like we're all Rob. I imagine you have the same take, or where's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I can't really disagree with it. I wanted to like him, man. I wanted to because he could have been a Zobrist,
Right.
He could have been the super utility guy to come in and do everything you need when you need it, but he just failed at it. He couldn't cut it in those clutch moments whenever he get put in.
I kind of started to hate myself because I'm like, this guy's batting 118. I'm like, oh, he's gonna get it this time. This is the time. This is the one time to come through in the clutch.
Dude's below the Mendoza line, and you still got faith in him.
Right.
Yeah, Miles.
Good for you.
Going up to bat was just kind of the way I can explain it was like when your partner is cheating on you all the time. And you're just like, you know what? Maybe this night out they won't cheat on me. And you're the idiot for thinking that anything else would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the cuckold watching the TV. That's all it was with my.
They show you who they are, believe them.
Right. Exactly.
And I think we believed him plenty after 2023.
But the Cubs did it.
And then he was back in 2024 in a regular-ish capacity.
I mean, but then you got Cody. I mean, Cody, we all saw this coming, I think.
Making it easier.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like when Kyle Tucker was signed, like I know some people were like, "Oh, now," I'm like, "No, don't get excited," because I think I said that on one of the posts too. I did this because I'm on my computer. My Facebook is right there. But like when Kyle Tucker was signed, there were some people on there saying, this kid was a great 1-2 punch, and they weren't wrong. But like, man, like I said, like I feel like this team's plan is still in place, whether it works or not. They don't care. They're sticking with the plan. The Kyle Tucker, I'm gonna be very, very okay. Kyle Tucker is a bellwether for me. He's the one I'm gonna see. If they re-sign him, they're all in. I think they're all in, and let's freaking go. And they may go out somewhere in August and try to get trade for someone rather than trade away someone. But
what was the point of getting rid of Bellinger if it wasn't to add something else?
But that's what I'm saying. I think that's the thing. Like they have their idea of who's gonna. They brought Bellinger back because they wanted that. Because again, we're not like a Chicago White Sox, right? We're not like 50 win team. We're not. We're there. Like we're right. Like we can see the playoffs, right?
We were at least above 500,
right? So bringing back Cody, you give yourself a chance to make a little run. But then once Kyle's here, it's like you don't. And again, I'm not justifying it. I think it sucks, but that you have to figure out, are you going all in right now? Okay, then pair Tucker and Bellinger together. But when they give Bellinger 1 year deal, I knew that was a recipe for them just to be able to get rid of him whenever they could.
Yeah, and another on the topic of, at least in my opinion, this is all subjective, but
Of course,
if you could have moved Bellinger to first, you could have moved Bush to second or third,
yeah.
and Horner could have been trade bait for a good pitcher if that's where you wanted to go. Or Bush also played quite a bit of third base.
Right.
Bush
Right.
could have
Yeah.
solved your third base problem, and that's just say, I don't know. Who knows if that would have worked
Okay.
out? But
Right.
Okay. I watched Bush. My wife happened to be stationed in North Carolina when Michael Bush played for UNC. I got the station. I watched a lot of them.
oh yeah,
At first base.
Yeah.
I also watched enough of him at third and left that I wasn't interested in that.
see, I haven't, so that's an
And-
interesting perspective.
Right.
And then because I watched him so much in those college games, I followed him throughout his Dodgers
Right.
stuff, and they were kind of trying to force him into the second and third profile, and also played him in left and or right occasionally, if I recall, because they had Freddie Freeman blocking him.
Hmm.
So I think, truthfully, he's always been a first baseman.
Yeah,
I think he's our first baseman for the next 3 to 5 years.
I agree.
I sure hope.
He'd have to bet like 180 or something to lose that. Because I think that I'm excited though. I'm excited to see it. I think Michael Bush is someone who can you call perennial all-star early? I'll say all-star within a couple years.
I don't know. He's a little old to say that he's going to be a whole lot more than what he is. But even if
I don't
this is
know.
all he is, I'm
But I
think.
kind of okay with that.
To me, he's
As an anchor.
Yeah, for sure. But to me, he's still a Dodgers level prospect who now has time to play. So I'm excited to see what he is. But guys, hey, it's been a lot of fun, man. Listen. This is if anybody listens to this moment, first of all, thank you. You're our MVP. But I'm just excited to talk Cubs every week. I'm excited to kind of get to do this with you guys. And look, this is going to be a fun year. I think the spring training is going to come up on us before we know it. And hell, we even have this regular season on like March 16th in the Japan game. So we'll definitely look at previewing those games and talking more about the rosters, etc. But thank you for joining us. Anyone who is out there still, if we didn't put you to sleep. Well, if we did put you to sleep, maybe you're waking up to our exit. But we'll be back again next week actually 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
For now, we're going to be weekly during the season, but right now we're going kind of a little bit of a slow start to kind of get our bearings. But this has been the Ivy League, a Cubs podcast. Ethan, thanks a lot, brother. Good to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Good to meet you too,
Yeah,
Marco.
good to meet you guys too. This was awesome.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.
All right.
Have a good night, Cubs Nation.